And we're back! What's up, world, and welcome to the Infinite Universe podcast. We left you for a couple weeks because, well, I guess, you know, the world's opening back up, and we're getting back to work and our lives. As always, though, I am your friendly neighborhood DJ, J Days, alongside Ivory Blood author Henry Pumpkinclaw, a.k.a. Ben Metlis. What's up, guy?
What's up, guys? Long time no see. Thank you, John.
Yeah, so you got a book coming out, huh?
Yes. I think I mentioned in a previous podcast that I used the quarantine last year for at least some sort of productive measures, and I finished the book I have been long working on. It is in pre-publication right now. I just had the proofs approved.
Editing and everything.
Editing with the publication company. Yeah, I was editing it with a family member for the past 8 months.
Sweet.
So,
well, that's freaking amazing.
Labor of love. Yeah, thank you, man.
No, I'm really happy about that. And of course, we'll announce that once it's out there for people to purchase. Let's talk about what we got coming up in the podcast. We're going to talk about the new series Loki, of course, upcoming movie and TV lineups, rumors about upcoming films, video game news, plus we announced the winner of our Pop Funko giveaway. First, Ben, how about we pick up where we left off? Some Falcon Winter Soldier. I know just recently you finished it. I watched it.
You made me finish it. John made me finish it.
Facts. He came over one day. He's like, yeah, I know we got to do another podcast, but I haven't even finished Falcon Winter Soldier. And I was like, what? I was like, why not? And honestly, it kind of seemed like you were a little bored with it from the get-go. So Is that what happened?
Yeah, I have to admit, I didn't give it a fair share. I kind of dragged myself through the first 2 episodes, and then kind of in my defense, halfway through, Bad Batch got released, and I started focusing more on Bad Batch and other stuff.
And you're a huge Star Wars fan, so I could see how you can get distracted. I mean, last time we talked about this, we only watched episode 1, and it left off, we're introduced to our new Captain America, Mr. Douche, John Walker, and
what do you talk about, the lax bro? This is total lax bro. I love how that's the villain they chose.
I thought, you know what's funny? I was watching 22 Jump Street, and he was the football player in that movie. Oh. So it's just kind of interesting that this guy's been around in other stuff, and I'm just now putting him as this stupid
role.
Captain America face is where I finally kind of put the actor to a role. But anyway, here is kind of how I feel about it. He was one of the most compelling parts about the whole series, honestly. In fact, for me, I enjoyed it. It kind of dragged on at moments, but it was kind of all the side characters that really kind of did it for me. Not even so much Falcon or Winter Soldier. It was more like Baron Zemo, and John Walker, who were the more compelling characters in this storyline to me.
I agree John Walker was one of the most compelling because I didn't like him. Yeah. And like we mentioned episode 1, it really kind of angered me the fact that they gave someone else the shield, especially this lax bro. I did like his character development because it showed someone being crushed under the weight of, Steve Rogers.
The role of
Captain America.
The shoes he had to fill.
I don't think he was a bad guy. And throughout the episode shows, they tried to make it seem like he wasn't a bad guy. He just made bad decisions. And he thought he was making the best decisions for everyone when he really wasn't. So
I don't know, because he definitely became a bad guy when he murdered someone.
No, he became a bad guy, and that scene with the blood on the shield and him standing in the middle of that was excellent cinematography.
That was iconic, that moment. But that was one of the best parts of the whole series, is seeing that shield bloody, knowing that how can you ever disgrace the name Captain America like that?
You think he's going to turn Hydra?
Oh, yeah, because at the end, that's who the Elaine character was, Lady Hydra.
Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, that was Lady Hydra from the comics.
Seeing her in there. That kind of gave me a big smile.
And that was, again, all of that stuff kind of what excited me about this series. The Sam and Bucky stuff was okay. Some of it really dragged on. I really wasn't a fan of the terrorist character or the battle smasher, or what is it? Flag Smashers. There you go. Wasn't a fan of that
There are
storyline.
two characters that a lot of people felt got the raw end in the entire series, and I agree with them. They were supposed to be the best characters, and they ended up being the worst. The girl, the redheaded girl,
Karen, Carla,
Carly, and the head of the Flag Smashers, and Sharon Carter.
Yeah,
I feel like Sharon Carter. It was they kind of.
It was wasted potential with those characters.
She turned her into that secret double agent who was playing both sides, but she was still good, and she just wanted to become a citizen again.
And at a certain point, it kind of was predictable that she was going to, I don't know, that she turned bad.
It was a long way to turn Sam into Captain America. That was basically the entire show. Turn Sam into a believable Captain America. And it's very, honestly, I understand the necessity of the racial profiling and the story behind it, but the sister story could have been
I was about to say, the fishing boat story was so unnecessary.
The engine not working.
When he started to pick up the shield and you saw him practicing, that was really cool. Mm-hmm. And then also, there was a couple cool battle scenes early on in the series when the trucks were driving and they were fighting on top of the trucks, Bucky and Sam against the Flag Smashers. But overall, I think Baron Zemo is probably my favorite part about it. He was funny. His character was interesting. You didn't really know what side he was playing the whole time.
And he's in it for himself.
Yeah, and then by the end of it, you really enjoyed him, and you want to see so much more of that character in the MCU now.
There was a great conversation. Was it between Baron Zemo and Bucky? I guess they were talking about the serum. And in the effects of how it brings something out of you. And they said, one of them said that didn't happen the first time. And the other one goes, yeah, but there's never been another Steve Rogers. There will never be another Captain America because Steve Rogers was such a diamond in a rough.
Yeah, and we saw how the serum, I guess, changed everyone, even including John Walker, to that next level of villain or whatever.
And Bucky was easily susceptible to the brainwashing of the serum made him easily susceptible to brainwashing. I do like how we saw that. We saw him testing out the book to make sure it can never work again.
Yeah, exactly. That was funny. But moving forward, I mean, the series, I can kind of take it or leave it. It wasn't that exciting to me. It seems like they are going to make a series 2.
Are they? Because I know they made an announcement that there's not going to be another WandaVision.
Yeah, because at the very end, it turned into Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So I'm pretty sure they'll do a second series because there's a lot of loose ends still in this story.
It won't be called Falcon and Winter Soldier. It'll be called Captain America and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, more likely.
Yeah, like I said, long way to turn Sam into Captain America.
6 episodes, 6 weeks of that, so Sam can get a new outfit and do what he was supposed to do originally, right?
Well, so they can justify having a black Captain America.
I guess.
Because there was so much fan backlash.
All right, but let's move on to our next and main topic. So we get a new series now, a few weeks in between with a break between Falcon Winter Soldier and Loki.
This comes out on Wednesdays?
This is out on Wednesdays now.
I kind of like that.
And we've had 2 episodes so far. What do you think?
This was the show I was least excited about, and it's the show I'm loving the most. I said this to you when we first saw episode 1, and many of you may disagree, but I liked episode 1 of Loki a lot better than I liked episode 1 of WandaVision.
Whoa.
I think Loki is one of the cool shows. Dude, just the character development of Tom Hiddleston, first off, this part wouldn't work with anyone else except for him. He's a great actor. But the character development of the villain into realization that his destiny was just a fallacy in his own head. Yeah. He created this delusion of grandeur in his mind, and he realized that moment, due to these we don't even know what they are, that it was a waste. His life was supposed to be sacrificed for a greater good that did not involve him.
Yeah, exactly.
Come to Jesus moment for someone.
Yeah, that's exactly. They're showing him that, hey, all of what you built up about yourself in your head ends this way. Yeah. And the fact that he had to see himself die, and you see the realization in him that he's oh, snap.
What's A Christmas Carol?
Yeah, exactly.
Christmas Carol. You have to like even the worst people, if they see their own mortality displayed in front of them, they completely
Because prior
change.
to that moment, he was trying to like escape back to
Wherever.
wherever.
Well,
Just
he thought he was kind of still in a realm that he was one of the strongest and godlike, and
Yeah.
he realized he is way outmatched.
yeah, and then they show
Owen
that
Wilson is perfect in that part.
Wow.
yeah, no, they have a great
Dynamic.
between the two of them. And well, after I watched episode 1, it forced me to go back and watch Wedding Crashers, and I love that movie so much. Actually, Owen Wilson's just great. But with the story, it's kind of cool because what I like about it is it kind of gives me that effect of WandaVision, where it's I don't know what the hell's going on, and I don't know where the story's going. With Falcon Winter Soldier, we kind of knew what that like finish line was going to be. Sam. If not Sam, then Bucky, but most likely Sam was going to get the shield and pick up the mantle, right? This, we're left scratching our head because what we do know is that Loki's always out just for himself. And we've seen that throughout these first 2 episodes is that, yeah, we start to see him starting to help the TVA, but at the same time, you still know that he has his own agenda. And anytime he can kind of like one-up someone around him,
He's going to take
that's what he's going
opportunity.
to do, because he's going to benefit himself first and foremost. So with that said, it's kind of like you're rooting for him, but you also know he's up to no good. And then you just kind of feel like he's going to fuck things up even worse somehow, because that's kind of what Loki does.
I think this is also setting up for the larger picture in the next phase. When they were going
With the
over
timekeepers and stuff?
not only with the timekeepers, but with the multiverse war. I think that's going to be like, because the multiverse kept branching off and it ended up turning into a multiverse war. And I think that's going to be the end game, is multiverse war. Because we've seen King the Conqueror multiple times. They showed him multiple times as the 3 timekeepers.
Yeah.
Now, what I think is, do you remember in Ant-Man and Wasp?
Yeah.
When Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer were leaving the quantum realm, and as their spaceship's leaving, you could see a little city in a bubble in the background. I think that's where we are.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think
agree.
that the rules of reality do not exist in the quantum realm. That has been established multiple times in Infinity War and Ant-Man. Like, so what I think is that's why we saw, which was one of my favorite parts, when he finds the desk drawer full of Infinity Stones.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
And it means they're worthless there. That was when he realized, like, God, these are gods. These aren't like, these are creators.
Well, that's what was cool. It showed the audience too that like that thing that you spent 10 years, 20 movies, like anticipating, like, and knowing how powerful that was. Oh, it kind of actually doesn't mean nothing here. There's more powerful beings or forces at work. And that's funny because you can see that like they're able to manipulate things that we haven't seen in the MCU so far.
No, which I think will be great because that will be able to introduce other villains and characters who might have a little bit more obscure powers.
When I think that might actually touch on eventually maybe what the Eternals are about.
Yes.
Because we're kind of starting to see this like, I don't know, these godly like powers or even just outside of godly like powers, like such advanced
technology or means of like, it's not even
manipulation,
powers, it's just understanding of reality that like bends everyone else's. What I think, so I've got a theory about what we're seeing because we saw a lot of things happening in this show. First, I loved how they explained Endgame. Like when Loki was first arrested, he was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not the one that time traveled. The Avengers are."
Oh,
That's
you
what
mean
got
Avengers?
Yeah, Avengers Endgame. When he was like trying to defend himself and going, "I wasn't time traveling. The Avengers were. Why aren't you arresting them?" And the judge said, "Well, that was meant to happen.
Yeah,
time traveling was meant to happen. You are breaking the timeline." And they explained the time war. So, what I think is, Wanda was technically considered a Nexus event in WandaVision, right? And they keep mentioning Nexus events. It's where the timeline branches off. And if the Nexus event hits a certain line where it's a point of no return and they can't erase that, then
Oh, like a threshold.
yeah, there's like a threshold. That's
Then
where
it bends reality into
into
creating
another
that.
branch of reality.
So that's why whenever we see the TVA arrive at a place, they're
Yeah.
putting down that device
To destroy
to reset that,
everything in that area.
and basically, which is that timeline trailing.
They're destroying
So before it gets too long, that trail, they destroy it.
destroy it.
Because if it extends too long, there's no turning back. Right?
Now,
Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Now, what we saw at the end of episode 2, the female Loki, the variant who people are saying is Enchantress. She dropped a bunch of those reset grenades into hundreds of different timelines throughout the timeline, and which basically would create all branch Nexus events on their own. Because if you go back into a specific time that was straight and didn't need a variation and a reset, and you just destroyed everything there, it's going to create its own branch. So what she basically did was start like a whole series of Nexus events, and I think that's the ultimate line, is to create a multiverse war, and which may be Mephisto. Because he might have manipulated Agatha into going into Wanda's bubble to force Wanda to become even more powerful than she was, which is exactly what happened, creating a Nexus event.
So that was the first Nexus event, and now this is another one, and
this is another one that
this female Loki is actually created even more.
She may be doing the work of Mephisto.
And in episode 1, when you are introduced to Owen Wilson the first time, he's or maybe the second scene, he's in the church with that little kid, and the kid is the one who gives him the gum that he's able to realize where this other Loki's been hiding based on the kind of gum and the date it was created. But also in that moment, the little kid points to the stained glass and says something like, "Who did this?" And it's a picture of the devil. So that was, and I saw a lot of people online, they were like, Mephisto, like right away. But that'd be fun if they're setting him up in the background of all of this, subtly, but also just kind of blatantly at the same time.
Well, isn't that what they kind of did with Thanos?
Yeah,
it was
right.
like subtly but blatantly. Like we got a couple of hints of him. They mentioned Titans and gods and different entities out in space, and now we're seeing the same thing. Maybe Mephisto is the one pulling the strings and is using a female cast of witches to do it for him. He's using Agatha, Wanda, Enchantress.
Oh shit!
And
okay,
so
and then we know we got Doctor Strange coming up too.
I think Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is going to pull this all together. We're gonna see the first spark of the next phase's big bad, take shots fired basically.
Okay, cool.
But I'm kind of glad Loki's great because I don't know, Falcon and Winter Soldier was good. It's not a show I'd watch again.
Yeah,
I've already watched the Loki episode 1 and 2 twice.
Yeah,
because it was just
it's fun.
It's fun.
It's funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, I still get a kick out of that scene when he finds the Infinity Stones in the drawer. Like, his face at that point is like, fuck.
I like in this recent episode, he got almost annoyed when he had to explain the difference between an enchantment and an illusion.
Yeah, that they're not the same thing. And Owen Wilson's basically like, they're the same thing. And he's using tiny variations in the explanation to
that was good. And it does feel just kind of almost like a buddy cop movie where there's two, dueling personalities that have to work together, which essentially is what it is.
I just love Owen Wilson's character in it because he's kind of cocky, but he's not. He's he knows Loki still thinks he's smarter than Owen Wilson. And Owen Wilson knows, no, you're not, but I still need you.
So there's also some rumors online that the timekeepers might actually not be in charge anymore, and maybe Kang has taken over in the background and running because it could be setting him up too.
That could
as
be
the big bad.
That could be the major big bad.
Yeah.
That maybe Kang is trying to start a multiverse war.
Or what if there's two big bads at one time?
Yeah.
Mephisto and Kang doing shit.
They could even be working together.
Who knows?
Because we had Loki as the big bad for a couple of movies, and then Thanos came in. You found out Thanos was the real one pulling the strings. So.
Yeah. Yo, did you see they have Loki Charms cereal? Did you see that? It was a
No.
special limited edition Lucky Charms. That had it was a green. I think it was like a green and black box, and it had
Oh, that's great.
and it had Loki instead of Lucky.
Well, it's basically the leprechaun with Loki's headgear on.
Now, this was like a limited edition, and it was on sale. And like the minute it went on sale, it was sold out. I was going to try to purchase this two boxes, one to
Jesus.
eat,
Do you
and
see how
then
much they are?
and then one to resell. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. People are selling it for like $100, $200, I'm sure.
$115 to almost $200 on eBay.
Yeah, for like a $6 box of Lucky Charms, for sure. But, they're sold out. But what I was going to do with that was maybe create a game and do it as a giveaway. But I wasn't able to get that. But I do have some good news. We are going to do the game that I've set up for you, Ben.
Nice. Yeah.
Hang on 1 second.
He hasn't told me about this yet, guys. So I'm in the dark about.
I got to set
I'm
up the
not
other
taking my
computer.
clothes off. All right.
Okay, that got weird for no reason. All right, Ben. So what I did here, it was set up a little trivia game of sorts to test your knowledge of one of our favorite characters, Loki.
Oh.
You two can play at home by answering these questions.
No, I guess I can't be on the internet, right? Should I close my computer?
Yeah, you cannot use Google or anything like that for this game. Let's get started. The fastest growing game show in America, the Loki game. You like this, like 70s, 80s theme
Yeah,
music?
it's like
I got?
Price is Right meets like, dating game.
All right, Ben, so I have a whole bunch of questions here about Loki. Let's just, for shits and giggles, test your knowledge, see how much of this you remember. Some are super easy, some are a little bit difficult. I have the answers to all of them. Yeah, let's see how you do in this game. All
Okay.
right, so if you get it right, you will hear this.
Well done.
Well done. If you get it wrong, you will hear this.
No.
All right, Ben, you ready for this? Mm-hmm. Okay, first question. Don't cheat. Okay. Who/where does the Marvel character Loki take inspiration from?
He takes inspiration from Pan, Goddess of Mischief.
I'm looking for a more specific answer. What sort of, I guess, group of people?
Oh, Greek gods?
No, I'm so sorry. The answer was the Norse god, Loki.
Oh,
The
Norse gods. Yes, not Greek. Sorry,
so
completely
sorry.
different.
That's one strike against you. Okay.
No.
Second question. What is Loki the god of?
Mischief.
Well done.
Well done. Well done. There you go. Okay, question 3. Who created the Marvel character Loki?
Ooh. I know it wasn't Stan Lee, right?
I need your final answer. Lock it in.
Jack Kirby?
No, in fact, it was Stan Lee.
Ah.
It was Stan Lee, one of the original creators. Which actor portrays Loki in the MCU? That's an easy one.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston.
Well done.
Well done.
Who
Okay.
should be James Bond, if not for Idris Elba. Those two should be the next James Bond.
That'd be cool. I'd be for that. All right. So you so far have 2 wrong and 2 right.
Oh,
All right.
50-50.
Next question. Loki is the son of who?
Biologically or adoptively?
The question is, Loki is the son of who?
Well, I guess if you're talking adoptive, son of Odin.
What
if
if-
not, he's the biological son of one of the ice giants, the leader of the ice giants. I forgot
I
his
need
name.
something a little bit more specific here, Ben.
From,
All right, I'm gonna have to give you half a point, so you're gonna get a.
Wait. I might be able to know it. It might be Floglier? Loffla?
Oh,
Laughlin?
all right. You know what?
Lawlin?
Here's the thing.
Lowlin?
I'll give it to you
Well done.
only because you're kind of close and weirdly.
How do you
off.
pronounce
It's Lofi.
Lofi?
Lofi. So it's like Loki, but But it's not spelled the same at all. But
No.
it's pronounced that. And he's the Frost Giant King.
Yeah, he's the
He was
king
the
of the
king of the
Frost
Frost Giants. So I don't know. I guess I'll give you that point though. So you're right. You got 3-2.
I did say he's his adoptive father too.
Okay, but let's go to the next question because maybe there's a question about his adopted father, you bastard. So hold your roll. Okay. Why was Loki abandoned by his real father?
Because he was weak and smaller than the others.
Yes, correct. Well done.
It's like
His father was ashamed of his small size and he was thought of as weak or a runt.
well, it's taken from the Greek Spartan practice of discarding non physically deformed or physically impaired children to keep the bloodline strong.
Wow, that's terrible. Thank you for that piece of knowledge. All right, next question. Who raised Loki?
Odin.
And for a bonus point? Actually, how about this? No, we'll just go to the next question.
Oh, you're talking about
We'll go
the
to the
mom's
next question. Who trained Loki in magic? Because that's the answer to both.
I don't know her name.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got this either. 'Cause
Loki's
I
mom.
think they say it like twice.
I know the
Is it
actress.
Frigga?
Frida.
Frigga, I think it
Frigga,
is.
maybe.
Anyway, yeah, I didn't really.
She's like the queen of witches.
I wouldn't have known that either.
Yeah.
All right. How about this question? Question 7. Where does Loki call home?
Asgard.
Well done.
Well done. All right. How about this? This is a fun one. How many MCU movies has Loki been in?
Oh shit.
And for a bonus point, can you name them?
Oh shit. Okay, so Loki was in Thor. First Thor.
Yes, that's one.
Okay. Avengers.
That's 2.
Thor the Dark Realm. Or Dark Elves. What the fuck is the movie called?
Dark something.
Dark. It's not Thor the Dark Realm. Thor the Dark Universe. Thor the Dark
You're getting warmer there.
Dark World.
There you go.
Okay, Thor Dark World. Thor Ragnarok.
Correct.
Infinity War.
Correct.
Endgame.
Correct.
Oh. How many do I have? 5?
You said Thor, you said Avengers, you said Dark World, you said Ragnarok, you said Infinity War, and you said Endgame. That's 6.
6? Okay, I'm going to guess there's 7, and I'm missing one.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
No. There's 6. You should have went with
I
what you
should have
had.
went with what I had. Damn it. Never question yourself.
Dang.
I did name them, though.
Yeah, well, all right.
Shouldn't I get the extra point?
We'll see how you do at the end of this. So
Okay.
far, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 wrong. And maybe one of those can go either way. All right, how about this? Ready? Question number 9. Loki leads and commands which group of aliens to attack Earth?
The Chitauri.
Correct.
Well done.
Which is a funny scene in Endgame when Rocket's making fun of the Avengers for not knowing to destroy the main ship, and it was just all shit. Why did you just destroy the main ship? It'll all go down. It's like, yeah, we found that out in hindsight.
All right. Question number 10. Which Avenger does Loki successfully use the scepter on?
Hawkeye.
Correct.
Well done.
All right. Which Avenger does Loki try to use the scepter on but fails?
Iron Man.
Correct.
Tony Stark.
All right.
Well done.
That was easy. How about this one, though? Question 12. When Loki first arrives on Earth, which MCU character does he try to attack first? Ooh, now you got to think back.
He successfully attacked that astrophysicist, I believe. I think that he comes to Earth. He attacks.
Which main character?
Nick Fury.
Well done.
Well done.
Sir, please put down the scepter.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the scene. Question 13. What is the name of the weapon Loki uses in Avengers?
Mind Stone?
Okay.
Or Loki's Scepter?
There you go. We're looking for Loki's
Scepter.
Scepter.
Loki's
Well done.
Scepter.
Which is the Mind Stone.
Which had the Mind
Yeah.
Stone in it, which we didn't find out until later.
Okay, how about this? Ready? Who does Loki say this to? I, Loki, Prince of Asgard, Odin's son, the rightful king of Odinheim, god of mischief, do hereby pledge to you my undying fidelity.
Oh, Thanos.
Correct.
Yeah, he says in Endgame.
Well done.
And then Thanos says,
And-
undying, you should choose your words more carefully, Asgardian.
And then the final question of this game, see how many you get right after this. How does Loki die?
Thanos snaps his neck.
Yes, and some would say Thanos apparently had a thing for snapping. All right, moving on. Let's talk some timelines, Ben. Marvel upcoming movies and TV series. Is there anything you're excited about? Because I know for me, I'll just speak for me because I know how much you're not this into it. But Black Widow, super excited, July 9th.
Are you sure that's not Black Widow 2? Because I swear the first Black Widow came out like 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. But the long awaited, and me
Yeah.
and my family are going out. This is going to be the first movie I see back in a theater. I had to make it a Marvel, you know, and dude, I don't know. I'm excited for it. There's always twists and turns in these. Hopefully, there's something that leads us into, more of whatever's going on in the future of the MCU. But if not, maybe it's just a nice little bow to a story and a character that, we've loved for the last 10 plus years.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I'm going to wait until it comes on Disney Plus. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to see it in theaters.
You know what's so sad about that? You pay money for the worst movies, like these C-level horror
Yeah,
films.
but I like those movies. Like,
But you love Marvel movies, so...
I do love Marvel movies, but I love horror movies more.
Oh, God.
So
What about just Scarlett Jo's just so beautiful, no? You're not going to...
No, she is, but it's...
I'm going to pay to see
know
her
what?
in another cool hot wig.
Okay, this may... I'm not saying I'm definitely not going to see it, because who knows? I might have a day off, no one's around, and I might hey, let me go to the theater and see Black Widow.
Yeah, I have no friends. I'm going to go hang out by myself. Okay.
I go to the movies all the time by myself. Anyway, yeah, I guess Black Widow could be... It's going to be interesting to see how it intertwines with the MCU.
All right, next up on the list, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, September 3rd.
Is this animated?
No, there's
No,
a
this
trailer
is
for
live
this.
action?
You
Is
haven't
there?
seen the
No,
trailer?
I haven't seen
Oh
the
my
trailer.
God. Hang on, we're going to pause. Ben's going to watch the trailer. Bring it up. So there you go. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Ben, you just watched the trailer for the first time. What do you think?
I like martial arts films, so that's interesting.
Looks like it's going to be pretty
Yeah.
badass. I love how they're finally going to maybe show us the real Mandarin. And then it looks like, the 10 rings that the Mandarin would wear that kind of give him his powers in the comics. They're not, I guess maybe they're not like rings you wear on your
They're
finger.
formation.
They're
Or
because
a
they saw
symbol.
them around his, they
forearm?
showed like separate rings around his arm, like a machine almost.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that in the
No,
trailer.
I did, and there was blue
Yeah.
blue coming out of it. I actually didn't pick up that those may be the 10 rings. I thought it was just like a Tony Stark device. But
Oh, I don't know,
That
maybe.
might be.
So it kind of, keeps us scratching our heads, wondering, what's going to happen with that. But, I think we're both in for it. But then it leads us to the Eternals, November 5th. And it's kind of like everyone that I keep talking to is just like, I guess.
Well, it was an anticlimactic trailer.
Yeah, they didn't show us much.
They didn't show us much, which there are people like you and I who are like, well, we don't even know what the major conflict is. Like, and I feel that's important in a trailer is to explain what's going to happen. But there's other people who like that. Like, I read one article saying, like, Eternals trailer avoids the one mistake all Marvel trailers make. And that was basically showing the villain in revealing the main villain in the trailer.
Yeah, but it also didn't show us much of anything else either.
We got to see Angelina Jolie's in it.
And it's like they're taking obscure characters, kind of like what they did with Guardians, which turned out to actually work out great. But this is, I guess, even more obscure. And then even like bigger fanboys aren't really sure what to expect, and they're not really giving us much, but just kind of like a couple big name stars as the cast, and
that's it.
that's all we have to go with. But again, I mean, how many times have they really let us wrong?
I
in the
know.
MCU?
I know.
Not many.
I know a fan of the Eternals. I used to work with at my other job. That he loved them, and this is the movie he's waiting for. He said, like, yeah, this movie's going to be epic because he still reads all the Eternal comics. So.
Interesting. All right, that's a wait and see. But you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'll go see it in the theaters. I just don't know, wouldn't know what to expect. I'll probably go in just the way I do with a DC film and just be like, all right, let's see what happens. All right, next up on the line, and there's some really fun rumors around this one, fucking Ben. Let's talk about it. Spider-Man No Way Home, December 17th, right around Christmas. That's dope. Have you heard a bunch of the cool like rumors that are going around?
I've heard so much rumors and speculations
about
and
the multiverse
people,
and all that.
and
We
like,
touched base.
I don't know what to believe or not. And we're getting to a point, it's like before Endgame, where it's like so many different things have been spouted out by so many different news sources. It's like I'm just kind of going into a muted
there's
stance.
some things that are definite, and then there's other things that are like, all right, so check this out, though. But I guess the most recent thing is that the Green Goblin is coming back.
Yeah, William Dafoe is playing the Green Goblin.
And he's going to be the leader of the Sinister Six.
Yes.
He's the one...
Now,
bringing in all these people.
I didn't know about the Sinister Six. I did hear he is reprising his role as Green Goblin. And he's going to be one of the main villains.
And I think it was that he was seen on set as well.
Yeah.
And we've heard a bunch of all the other people that are also coming back.
Alfred Molina's going to be in it, but I've heard rumors that he's not going to be Dr. Octopus yet.
Or just maybe the one that we know. He could be a different one.
Yeah.
Right? Multiverse could be a different kind of Doc Ock. Jamie Foxx. But... here's the other kind of cool, and
doesn't that seem like a lot of people in one movie?
Oh, for sure. And I'm hoping it doesn't have the Spider-Man 3 effect.
Yeah, that's exactly my fear.
Where there's just too much going on in a story, and it ruins.
Too much crap like around.
Maybe there's like a curse of Spider-Man 3. You know what I mean? And this might be it.
That'd be crazy. Imagine this is the one that doesn't.
Well, think about it.
Like the third Spider-Man.
There was a Tobey Maguire one, where the third one kind of sucked. There was the Andrew Garfield one that was supposed to happen, but then never happened. So that was supposed to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was going to be Spider-Man 3. And then we got this one would now be the third one of the Tom Holland version, and maybe there's a curse. Dun, dun, dun. But
yeah, I know what the curse is. It's called Sony. I don't know how to make movies.
There you go.
Comic book movies.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. But here's something, I don't know. Take this for how you will. It's kind of cool, kind of like, but... all right, so we're gonna get a Kraven the Hunter movie.
Yes, we are. I've read that too. And they cast him also, didn't they?
Yeah, and it's, if I say this name, do you know who this is? Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Is that the guy, Aaron Taylor Johnson? Isn't he the guy from Home Improvement?
No, that's Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, I know. I'm just joking. That's Superbad. Or Quicksilver, the original Quicksilver.
So, what do you think of that? I always envisioned someone, I guess, I don't know, bulkier than him to be Kraven, but maybe if he goes on one of those superhero regiments and...
well, he's kind of bulky. I think what matters with Kraven the Hunter is the facial hair.
Yeah, and there's like fan-made art and stuff online where they show him as Kraven, and like, all right. And essentially just kind of looks like Aquaman, just with a fuzzy vest instead, right?
This one? That's basically Aquaman with a fuzzy vest. No, that is Jason Momoa, actually.
No, but there's some other ones online that were definitely like that inspired, just like that image right there. But anyway, there you go. I think that might be it. Yeah.
Isn't that your favorite character?
Who? Kraven?
Yeah.
No.
I always thought that you said Kraven the Hunter was one of your favorites.
No, I mean, I think he's one of the coolest story arcs for Spider-Man.
Yeah. That's what you've said since the beginning. That like that's why they need to introduce him as a villain. That's like one villain for Spider-Man. You said that needs to be introduced.
You know, so it can look like they're setting up the Sinister Six a little bit more, but also I don't know. I guess online a lot of people are, no one's ever happy with casting. I guess we just got to see. Not. But like you said, I'm more worried about the Sony effect of it just being kind of like a turd, and then we're left with like these like half-ass kind of like movies like Venom where it's
Branch
like
offs that are
where
not
it's like, all
gonna
right,
go anywhere.
Venom was okay, but it kind of sucked, kind of good. I don't know. It wasn't great. That's for
What I'm
sure.
hoping they're not going to do is what Warner Brothers tried to do with Justice League. Throw all these characters into one movie and hopefully it branches off into like 4 or 5 other franchises or 4 or 5 other movie like lines.
Isn't that probably their goal though?
That is their goal, but what about creating the 4 or 5 different movie lines and then bringing it together? Because that's usually what worked with Avengers and that's what worked with other
And that's where
series.
DC fucked up.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers tried to do that with Justice League. They just tried to come out the bat with Justice League and Batman versus Superman, and then thought, oh, well, each of these characters will have movies after. But it doesn't work that way because if the jump off movie sucks, then no one's going to want to see the other movies.
Agreed. All right, well, we'll see what happens with the Kraven the Hunter, but that's kind of dope. Some other cool kind of Spider-Man news. Yo, did you see the Avengers Campus yet in Disney?
No, you sent me a picture of it, but it looks awesome.
Oh, let's bring up that trailer right now too. You're gonna enjoy that. So there's a new theme park. I'm a sucker for these things. You know, Harry Potter World was a lot of fun to me. I got good news and bad news about this, though. Do you want me to tell you before or after you watch the trailer for this?
Tell me before.
All right, so Avengers Campus is only going to be in Disneyland, California. It's actually not coming to Disney World. And there's actually a weird reason for that.
Because Universal is having their own Avengers like compound.
Well, if you remember, Universal already has the Marvel license of Islands of Adventure, Islands
Avengers
of
Island.
Adventure.
Adventure.
No, but it's not Avengers Island. I don't think.
No, it's Islands of Adventure. That's their park. That
Yes,
has,
yes.
Yeah.
So here's like the contract actually is that anything right of the Mississippi, Universal owns in terms of theme parks. So you could only do Avengers Campus anything west of the Mississippi River. This is like the negotiation I found out about. I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. But then you might be asking yourself, well, what about the Disney cruises that leave out of Florida?
Well, those are in international waters.
Exactly.
Aren't they?
So
it
the
doesn't matter.
characters actually technically aren't allowed to come out until it's in international waters. So you know the people that are walking around the Spider-Man or Captain America outfits?
They have to stay inside until they get about 15 miles off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that so funny? So that sucks for us.
You know
though.
that lawyers are paid hundreds
Yes,
of dollars an
yeah.
hour to negotiate this shit?
So that's what's funny, but that's what sucks for us though. People who live on the East Coast, apparently we're never going to get that until either the Universal contract runs out or is bought out or whatever. But I
See,
can't see them doing that.
I can't see them doing that too. And then, like, if the Universal contract is bought out, then we lose the Incredible Hulk, which is one of the best rides in that theme park.
Yeah,
We'll
but
just rename it something else.
yeah, exactly.
But
Anyway, take a look at this trailer though. Hang on.
you know what that was, right?
Tower of Terror.
It was the old Tower of Terror in the East Coast.
Let's talk about that. All right, yeah. So Ben, the good news, bad news again is that East Coast, we're never going to see this, or at least not for a long time. We're only going to see this in the California, whatever it's called, Disney Adventure or whatever. It's right across the street from Disneyland. And anyway, so, but you can see right now, there isn't a ton going on there. It's kind of like a little extension to what they already have going on. But there are a couple, cool things. And you noticed first the Tower of Terror ride is now the Guardians. That's been there for a minute now. In Florida, it's still the Tower of Terror.
Yeah, I
And-
know. I went there last January.
Yeah, so I haven't ever gone on that ride, actually.
One of my favorite rides in the park.
No, but you've gone on the Guardians one?
Oh, no, not on the Guardians.
Yeah,
I've
no.
gone on Tower of Terror.
Yeah, no. So, but the Guardians one, it's the same ride, just done up for Marvel and stuff.
For Guardians.
And then there's one other ride. It's a Spider-Man ride. What is it called? Like the web shooter or something
Spider-Man
like that?
Adventure, Web Slingers.
Yeah. And I think that's all they have there right now in terms of like any sort of like roller coaster or things like that. But then there's
Well,
other.
that looks like it may be a simulation coaster.
It is actually, in
It's a
fact, it
simulation
is.
coaster.
It is.
That's going to be the new move for theme parks soon. Which I mean, for these theme parks, maybe not like
Because you could put more rides in a smaller place.
But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I prefer actual roller coasters.
Yeah.
These
no,
simulations get me nauseous, actually.
that's actually a lot of people's complaints, but I like them actually. I think they're fun. There is a Spider-Man simulation in the Universal Park.
Yes, there is.
But this is
I've
going
been
to
on
be
it.
different than that one. So, in fact, there are two different Spider-Man rides, I think, right now in the country that are competing brands and everything. But, okay, so the
They
other
look
kind
almost
of...
the same, though.
Yeah, exactly. They went
the
the same
outside
route.
looks almost exactly the same way.
But when I sent you that thing on Instagram, they showed the Spider-Man
Hologram?
No, the guy that it's like a. So what's also going on throughout the theme park is that there's like these interactive like actors and locations. Like there's Doctor Strange's like temple or something like that. At
there's
that ride,
the inner sanctum, the
Yeah.
ancient sanctum.
on the Spider-Man ride, there's another like interactive thing. An actor comes out, he talks to the audience, he does some acrobatics and stuff, and then he like goes into the tower. And then what happens is it's an animatronic that's on top that does this like wild flip and lands on another roof or something like that. But it looks like it's the actor who was just interacting with the people. So that's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
And there's also online, if you go to YouTube, you can watch some of these interactions with these actors and the people at the theme parks. There was a Loki who came out as a prisoner and he had his hands cuffed, right? And he comes out to the crowd and he asked the crowd to like, hey, can you make a distraction for these guards? I have something up my sleeve or something like that. And then the audience is like, no. And then he goes, oh, that's just what I needed. And then the Loki like his arms come around in the front and he's not handcuffed anymore. So they have like these magician tricks with these like Marvel characters such as like Doctor Strange and Loki.
Yeah, they kind of do that in the Star Wars area.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So they're doing a lot of that. So that's what's going around the Avengers Campus. But here's also like the shitty news I heard about this is that, so it just opened like a couple weeks ago and it's like practically a 3-hour line just to get into that portion of it. Cause there's, I guess,
Well, look how big it is.
there was
too.
still COVID restrictions,
Yeah.
which now I guess, things are going to start to get lifted and a little bit easier. But then like to get on the freaking only 2 rides that are there was like another like 2-3 hour wait.
And they're
for
not
each.
fast passes.
And they're not even that great of ride. Like,
Well,
yeah,
you probably can't do fast passes with them.
yeah, I don't think you could do that either.
Yeah,
so right
so-
now it's a total like buzzkill. I've been hearing, but again, you can go to YouTube and you can watch some of the cool like actors interacting with
it just opened,
audience,
and I'm sure
that's
that
kind of
they'll-
fun.
I'm sure look at the area right here. Like, there's a big area to the south of it.
Well,
that
they're going to
shows
build
me
more
they're gonna
stuff.
build more
Oh,
stuff.
100%.
So it's like, why go when it just opened? When wait a year or two, and then go when it's actually been.
And that's what I did with the Harry Potter shit. I didn't go, well, for a few reasons, but not for a few years until like after. And then once it was like fully set up, that's kind of when I went. And for me, that being my
awesome.
first experience, it made it really cool because it's like, whoa. Because they had the train that took you between the parks. They had the Diagon Alley. They had all the stores set up. They had all the actors. And it definitely made my experience way cooler, which this is like, how boring would that be to waste 3 hours just to get in there, to waste another 3 hours to 4 hours just to get on the 2 rides?
Well,
That's your whole
so
day.
wait 3 hours to get on the Haunted Mansion, a ride I've been on like multiple times.
Exactly.
People just want to go on it because now they get to see Marvel characters. Why? Yeah.
But again, if you want to go to this, you got to go to California.
Wait. I really have no desire to go to California, like Disney World. I always feel like the California Disney World is like abridged.
No, it's
Like,
Disneyland.
Yeah, the California Disneyland is like abridged.
It's gotten better. It's gotten way better, actually.
Has it?
Because I've been recently, and between the Star Wars stuff and everything else that's growing, it's getting way better. But
I feel
Disney
like
World
if you're going to
was
spend that money, you spend the money on like multiple parks, like go from Animal Kingdom to Epcot.
They have
like,
2 parks.
Do they?
Yeah.
All right, I guess I got to stop talking trash now because I know there are people that love
See,
Disney
right
World,
there,
California.
that's the other part.
Yeah.
What is it called? It's called like Adventure something. See, it's
California Adventure Park,
yeah,
and then
and then
Disneyland Park.
Yeah, and basically it's the same thing, but it's not the same rides and stuff, you know. Because so for Disney, the one that's right next door is what it was called, like Hollywood Studio or something. I don't know. What
It
it's
is
called.
Hollywood Studios
that's
now.
what it's called?
In Florida, right?
Yeah, it used to be MGM.
It used to be MGM. It's Hollywood Studios. Yeah.
So that's the same thing that they have.
That they have with the Avengers. Yeah, that's where the Star Wars area is.
Yeah. So Ben, I know you're a big lover of video games. Did you see the Guardians of the Galaxy game that's coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, 2020, like, I'm getting very skeptical about games like this that are like promoted. Like Spider-Man was awesome. The DLC was awesome, but it was also in development for a very long time. It's been in development since the first Spider-Man movie has been in development, because that was the whole idea, that Sony was going to Marvel was going to rehabilitate the Spider-Man character for Sony so the video game would sell, and it worked. And I feel like the last Avengers game was rushed out. No concepts, like, you know.
You could only play as one character, right?
Only play as one character. People said that the fight scenes were very one-dimensional. It was very repetitive with the enemies.
Yeah, fans definitely weren't happy. The anticipation was there, but then once it came out and people started to see the gameplay and everything, everyone was kind of crapping all over.
Yeah.
You said you didn't like it.
And this isn't just isolated to, I want to make this clear, this isn't just isolated to comic book games. Like, it's been seen a lot that developers are pushing game designers or the producers are pushing game developers to get games out faster without like the concept that, listen, they take time. Like Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to be the hottest game of 2020 and was the biggest dud. Like, there was a game, Oddworld, I was excited for that, like, you know, when it came out, there were certain aspects I couldn't even play because it was just like, you know, I kept getting stuck. So,
let's talk about this game a little bit. So it's a single player action adventure experience. So that right there in itself that makes it suck a little bit. You know, when it's single player and there's no online, there's not
going to be an online option.
Nope.
Well, that might suck for the depth of what you do with the game, but that might be beneficial because that means they're focusing more on single player.
Okay, but let me ruin it for you a little bit more.
Oh,
good. So it's actually going to be separate from the MCU Guardians franchise.
Okay.
So you're going to see the characters are going to look like slightly different. You know, there's going to be like these weird little different intricacies about them. And particularly, like, Star-Lord kind of has like a fuckboy haircut, and Rocket is sporting a Captain Lou Albano rubber band beard look. And visually, the game looks kind of cool, but typically, like, you know, the trailers always look a little bit more exciting, and then you actually play the game and it falls flat. A lot of people online, though, have been bashing it and saying, like, oh, this looks like it's like an iPhone game or like an Android game, and like again, you can only play as one character, yet you have all the different characters in it, which is stupid.
That ruined it. Like, the no online function, I could deal with that because the original Spider-Man game didn't. Being different from the MCU, that's fine too, because the same thing with Spider-Man. Playing as one character.
Yeah, you can only play as Star-Lord, and you got all those other characters.
And
that
was like what I liked about the Spider-Man game was you played as 3 different characters.
Yeah,
like you were Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Mary Jane. So, and I thought that allowed the story to be, this is going to be one-dimensional, like you said.
Now, why don't you go ahead and watch the trailer real quick, and then give your opinion, because you might find it even more one-dimensional after you watch it.
All right, so 2 things I noticed in it. The moments you do see in the trailer, which are brief, and they cut them to make it seem a little boxy movement. Like when he's throwing Rocket across the thing, like Drax moves a little bit, and the movement looked very boxy.
Well, I noticed that when he was fighting in the fight scene as well, like it looked like slow. I don't know, maybe just
it was like wonky almost.
Yeah.
And then 2, I noticed in the trailer, there's only 2 different enemy versions you see. Like, which means that you're probably only fighting, like, imagine, like, Yeah, fighting only foot soldiers and different colored foot soldiers was fine in the 1980s when we were like on 64-bit Nintendos.
Yeah,
and, like,
so you're just gonna fight the same villains over and over,
which is
throughout the
okay.
game.
But it's 2021. You know, you have the Unreal engines to work on. You can't come up with two different enemies, like, you know.
Well, and here's the thing I noticed about the trailer is that it's all like the cinematic trailer. The whole thing is like those cutscenes.
That's gonna
right?
be most of the game. The game's gonna be maybe 6-7 hours, like
of actual gameplay.
No, the game will probably be 6 hours, 7 hours long, but it will be only like 3 or 4 hours of actual gameplay. I bet you it's gonna be mostly cinematic stuff, which is one complaint people had about Avengers.
Huge chunk of that is storyline.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could see when it turned into the gameplay portions, but for the most part, it's like, all right, do you want a fun little like, I don't know, come to life version of a comic book to play for a few hours? That's kind of what you're getting.
It's going to be 5 hours max of gameplay, and you know I'll play maybe one day when it's free on PS Now. Like it's like one of those free games they tell you about, like, oh, this week this is free, so you can play it. So maybe I'll pick that up. I mean, I don't want to shit on it because it hasn't come out yet, but comic book video games haven't had like great track record.
Because it kind of reminded me of the Avengers trailer that came out for that game that ended up being not that great. It looked a lot cooler than when you actually sat down to play it. And I don't know, like, spend $60 on a game that you'll beat, because you burn through games so quickly. You beat a game in half a day.
I also try to get all of the I beat Resident Evil like 5-6 times.
But do you want to pay $60 for that game and then like be able to beat it in a day?
What matters to me is replayability, and that's like most important to a game. Is like, if I beat it, do I want to play it again? Do you make me want to get all?
But if
the
it's
other
only
stuff?
one character you're playing as, if how about if they unlocked other characters, and then you could play storylines with those other characters.
If there were other storylines,
but that's not what you're getting with this.
No. Because like, yeah, I paid $60 for Resident Evil Village, and I burned through it. But I also like went through multiple other stories that were involved in it. There were other games to play and other like challenges to go through that I didn't get. And so you go through, and that's the replayability. This looks like, you can knock it out in 5 hours and like at the most, and be like, okay, well, I got 100%. What else now?
Word. All right. What do you want to talk about on the Star Wars front today, Ben?
There's a few things I want to go through. First, I want to air grievance on some rumors I have heard that Brie Larson may be Mary Jade Skywalker. So, are you familiar with Mary Jade Skywalker?
Vaguely.
In the now non-canon Legends novels, the Emperor cloned himself, like we saw.
Yep.
But the Emperor's clones died really quickly. So he would be young in one clone. And he had almost like an Asajj Ventress, like this female assassin called the Emperor's Hand. And
that would like do his dirty work?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. She was his assassin. Okay. Like when his body was too frail and help him. And it was, and Luke ended up turning her back to the light side, and they ended up marrying and having kids.
Okay.
And her name was Mara Jade. And I heard Brie Larson was being looked in as her, which is kind of disappointing because we saw how great she was as Captain Marvel. But, there's so many other actresses I could go into who would be better than Brie Larson.
Would this be for a movie or this be for Disney Plus series?
This is apparently going to be in a Disney Plus series.
Okay.
Or maybe a movie. There's rumors that Lucas has taken back control of like that he actually got hired by Disney to
write some more stories,
write some script, because like Kathleen Kennedy has said she's not going anywhere. J.J. Abrams though has admitted like, yeah, maybe we should have read out the sequels. It's like now, like maybe you should write out the sequels instead of going movie to movie basing on feeling. Like dude, you're a storyteller. You should know that. Like, but anyway.
Yeah, it seems like almost the smart thing to do now as a writer, especially when you get handed such big IP, is like when because here's the problem, like when JJ got hired, he was only hired for the one film.
Yeah.
And that's where that's where the problem lies.
No, exactly.
Because if
he only cared about that one film.
And if you would say to the writer, hey, we're going to hire you for these 3 films, your thinking is different. You're planning this out more methodically. whereas his baby was just the what was it, number 7, right? Mm-hmm. Right. After that, like you said, he wasn't a part of 2. They ruined that. He
wasn't a part of 8.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a part of 8 because then they hired Rian Johnson, who had a completely different vision for where the 3. So that was what made the original Star Wars work and even helped out the first 3 prequels.
It was one mind that kind of already thought out what the next steps were.
That had a vision of where the entire thing was supposed to be. Instead, they hired 3 directors or 2 directors who had 2 different visions.
And on top, just speaking in general here, I think you're going to see, it would be so smart for Hollywood to do this. Like if you were going to, and it's kind of hard to say what movie is going to be a franchise, but in something like I was thinking this with the Saw remake. What was it called? Spiral?
Spiral.
Like, you have to, like, knowing that there's going to be sequels, like, right into the storyline where it's going next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marvel obviously has done a great job of it, but if you're going to tell these big stories, you got to freaking think the next 2 steps ahead. Because if you just start giving different people carte blanche with the storylines, it's going to just seems like a hodgepodge of ideas.
It's necessary, and usually in stories that work, like Back to the Future. Steven Spielberg had a clear vision of how all 3 of those movies were supposed to be ended. Like, or at least he wrote Back to the Future 1, and then he wrote Back to the Future 2 and 3 back to back, so it would at least refit. Same thing with Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then you had Temple of Doom. That was great. And then The Last Crusade, which should have been The Last Crusade, but now they're having Crystal Skull, which kind of doesn't fit, and now they're trying it again. It's like,
What I would just be like, so for instance, let's take like some other current movie, like how about Mortal Kombat that just came out? When they decide to make that movie, they're taking a big risk and they don't know if it's going to be a failure or not, but I don't know, they got to be a little bit less scared and take those risks to be like, hey, we know we're going to make some money off this. We know we're probably going to get a sequel. We need to, before we give you the money to make one movie, what's your idea for the second? Like, where's this story headed?
But then the issue is they don't even jump that hard because they don't give, because one thing
they don't give too much control.
Well,
right?
that's one thing I have huge problem with, like, modern Hollywood. Is like directors are very easily bowing down to the producers and the production companies.
Now, is this because like the suits are also interchangeable? That like their focus isn't in the longevity, it's just in the kind of here and now, the business and the money.
The suits are focus is what's going to make us the most money.
Yeah, this quarter.
It used to be if a movie made like half of its budget in the first weekend, that was a success. Because then you can make the next or if you made or even if you made your budget. But made back the budget in the first weekend, that was a success. Now a movie's not considered a success unless it makes 3 times the budget in the first weekend. And you also have movies which are hundreds of millions of dollars. Like corporations don't even have that kind of budgets. And you're handing it to a director. So of course you're not going to let him have 100% control. Now you should, because you've hired him as your director. You hired him as, this is the vision I want and make this movie. And back in the day, directors used to push back to production companies. You know how many times there have been stories of Stanley Kubrick going over budget and basically telling the production studios to go fuck themselves? Like, I'm making this movie. You're going to give me the money because you want this movie made. So if you don't, this movie's not going to be made. That used to be like the statement. Like, the directors were the ones in charge. Now it's the bigwigs on the boards that are like in charge. And I think it's a mixture of, there's a lot more money at risk.
So wait, how did this all tie into Star Wars again?
Oh, because basically what happened with the last 3 sequels.
Okay.
We had people that saw money making in the franchise and they didn't have a clear vision. Now I feel like they have a clear vision, and there have been rumors that Dave Filoni is being given a larger creative control over the movies. And if people don't know who Dave Filoni is, he is the genius behind the Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch. A lot of the smaller projects that people love and love the story. Like he created Ahsoka Tano. He created he gave Darth Maul the history that a lot of people think makes him one.
I follow you now.
He's the one that gave Count Dooku his backstory, the Separatists their own. So that's why a lot of people want him to have control. Like, I love the Bad Batch, but I also can't blame it all on Disney and them. I think fans need to kind of have come to Jesus moment, and I see this arguments every time Bad Batch comes out on Twitter. There is no canon. Okay, on Facebook, there is no canon. Like, one canon may not be due because they just finished shooting Mandalorian season 3, and they just finished filming Book of Boba Fett. Who knows where that's going to go into to the bigger picture? And you know what? I don't care because it's going to be a great show. And
so are people complaining that the animated stuff is not canon with the live action stuff?
Well, they're complaining that the live action stuff is being rewritten, or there's the animated is changing canon.
Why can't people just like stuff and enjoy it?
Exactly. Well, that's what I've said.
It's all make believe.
This is what Star Trek fans have come to realize years ago, when Next Generation, Starship 5, all of those shows, they're just it's just make believe. I'm gonna like what I like and not like what I don't like. Because there are people online who are like, the sequels are not canon to me. They don't exist. Everything ends after Return of the Jedi. I'm like, whoa, calm down there, big guy. It's not really that big of a deal.
People are soft out there.
They take it too personally.
Yeah. But, so I haven't watched any of Bad Batch, actually. Tell me about what.
Okay, so
I know a little bit of what it's about, but kind of go over the synopsis.
It's a spinoff of the first couple episodes of Clone Wars, about this group of misfit clones who had specialties. You have the Berserker, the Sharpshooter, the Tracker, the Intelligence. Then it goes into there was one. In one episode, one of the normal clones was kidnapped by the Separatists and turned into this bionic organism who was actually, they were able to use his strategic implants and since he was a leader, to predict where the clones were going to attack next, which then goes into Anakin Skywalker's story a little bit. So he's part of the Bad Batch now. So in the Bad Batch, Order 66 happens.
Did they show it in this new series?
Yeah, they showed it. One of them was affected.
So for people who don't know, Order 66 was what?
Was when the bionic chip in the clones' heads was ordered the clones to kill the Jedi. And there were other orders too that went along with it. And you get to see that.
But one of the orders was specifically to kill all the Jedi. And all these clones basically.
Or anyone who's a Jedi sympathizer.
Gotcha.
So because in one episode, in one of the episodes, one of theirs goes against them, is now trying to hunt them down because since they fought against Order 66, they're now considered enemies of the Empire.
So is that where the show starts off?
It starts off, yeah. But then it also goes into a story that the Caminos actually cloned made a female clone. And she's also a part of their group now. And it goes into Tarkin in the first episode discussing with the leaders of the Camino that the Emperor might switch over to orphan children in non-clones because it's getting too expensive. And the war's over. They don't need strategic higher quality soldiers. They just need enforcers, which is what the stormtroopers is. And that's interesting because now the Caminos and the Empire are almost at odds too.
Ah, so that's where stormtroopers eventually come in line?
Yeah, it's going into that story about how, the Emperor was going against the cost effectiveness of well, we don't need clones anymore and their unpredictability.
Now, let me ask you this, because do you ever feel at any moment there's too much of all these, we're getting oversaturated with Star Wars stuff in particular or Marvel stuff?
No, because I don't think we're getting oversaturated. Because right now
you're talking about the economy of a fantasy.
But this is stuff that has been discussed before.
Yeah, no, I know.
Why they and they're kind of expanding upon that. You want to hear one funny thing that has gotten people into so much anger over online? So in one of the episodes, because it's also going into side stories about them, about how since they're wanted now, they have to become smugglers or bounty hunters. Not even bounty hunters, but not killing. So they had to save something, and they didn't know what it was. I forgot what was Moochie. They had to save someone called Moochie. Now, on a planet that was being taken over by the Emperor. Now, they thought it was just a child, a normal, like, alien child. Well, it ended up being a baby Rancor. So then they meet up with Jabba the Hutt's, like, side guy who was in, like, in Return of the Jedi, who, like, was supposed to get the baby Rancor. So people online are like, oh, that's the Rancor for Return of the Jedi. But then there's other people who are like, well, the Return of the Jedi Rancor was not named Muchi, so it's not it. And it got into, there's a huge argument about, like, was it the Return of the Jedi Rancor? Was it not the Return of the Jedi Rancor? Did Jabba have more than
people need to go back to work, because if you got too much time in your hands to argue about this
Listen,
stuff.
I'm a Star Wars fan, and I love all the side stuff. Like, we've discussed it. I'm getting a new book now on the High Republic that's supposed to continue on with the Nihilist War and what's going on, like, about 400, 500 years before that. I like the stuff, but I'm not obsessed enough where I'm going to angrily fight with people on the internet about the name of a Rancor from a movie about 30 or 40 years ago. But it's a good show. It's fun to watch. It's not, I don't think it's going to be oversaturated because I'm excited about some. I'm excited about the Obi-Wan show. I'm excited for Book of Boba Fett.
I kind of like the live action stuff a little bit better, to be honest.
Well, a lot of people do because, I guess animation has that stigma of, like, it's meant for children. And originally the Clone Wars was meant for children. But some of the storylines got a little bit deeper with Dave Filoni. And I don't know, I respect his storytelling. So I guess that's why I like the Ahsoka Tano storytelling. 2 characters from the end of Clone Wars who had a relationship with Ahsoka Tano were just seen. So I wonder if and they just met Rex, who is a very well-known character. Yeah. He explains about the chips because they didn't know the chips were even there. So, and that goes, I like it. I'm a Star Wars geek, I guess.
All right, so yes, if you want to be just as confused as I am, watch The Bad Batch on Disney Plus.
It's a fun show. It's a fun show to watch. Like, I feel like it's like Mandalorian for non-Star Wars fans. Like, there's a lot in Mandalorian that people who don't know the history watch. It's a fun show. I'm glad they made it. I'm really looking forward to Obi-Wan. I'm really looking forward to the Acolytes. Yeah, Disney Plus. Definitely worth it.
All right, let's move on. Ben, we have a cool Pop Funko we're finally going to give away.
Guys.
To be honest, we forgot last show, so it was supposed to be last time. But here it is right now for the lucky listener out there. Thank you guys for all the comments, likes, and sharing and all that good stuff. Try to be a little bit better at putting out more of these. In the meantime, Ben, you got yourself your dirty hat.
Dude, I just cleaned it like a month ago.
Along with the names raffled off. Why don't you go in there and grab one?
I put everyone who's ever commented on our page on any video's name in here. So.
All right, let's see.
Right.
What do we got? Who's the lucky winner? Drum roll.
Cosboo.
Okay.
Cosboo.
I think it says, oh my God, bro. It says Cash Boo.
Oh, Cashboo?
K-Hash-Boo.
K-Hashboo.
Cashboo. All right.
Okay,
Cashboo.
We'll reach out to you through the comment section
Yes.
when this gets released on YouTube.
Yep.
Once this drops, I will send you a private message through your YouTube. Or if you even hear this, email us at infiniteuniversepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, you got that out. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Reach out. And because we kept you waiting so long, we're going to hook you up with a bunch of cool stickers as well. You're going to enjoy them. Cool. So there we go. All right. So with that, that'll probably do it for this episode number 19, right?
Man.
Next time, number 20. All right. Mm-hmm. Try to get it out a little bit quicker. More giveaways coming up. Another cool Pop Funko in store. Maybe it's Loki or maybe it's Loki. It'll be Loki. All right. Until next time. We're your host.
I'm Ben, or Henry Pumpkinclaw.
Yes, look out for the book coming out soon. We'll give you more information on that. And I'm Jay Days. Until next time, remember, although we may be a-holes, we are not 100% dicks. We're out of here.
See you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.